Walk with me.
God, be merciful unto us and bless us and cause his face to shine upon us, Selah. That thy way may be known upon the earth, thy saving health among all nations. Let the people praise thee, O God. Let all the people praise thee. Oh, let the nations be glad and sing for joy, for thou shalt judge the people righteously and govern the nations upon the earth. Let the people praise thee, O God. Let all the people praise thee. Then shall the earth yield her increase, and God, even our own God, shall bless us. God shall bless us, and all the ends of the earth shall fear him. Psalms chapter 67. Deliver me from the hands of evil spirits that have sway over men's thoughts of men's hearts. And let them not lead me astray from thee, my God. Establish thou me in my seat forever, that we go not astray henceforth and forevermore. Jubilees chapter 12 and verse 20. Yes, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Those of you on this platform and those shared platforms, we thank God for you. And with a hand clap of praise, we thank God for those of you who have been with us since the beginning. And we thank God for those of you that are been with us thereafter and here and there's about. We thank God for you, yes. And we thank God for those of you who have just subscribed or followed. And we also are believing God for those of you that have not subscribe or follow, but we're calling those things that are not as though they are. Yes. All praises to the Most High, even Yahweh. Now, here we go again. Book of Jasher. Now we're in chapter 54. Chapter 54, and we ended in verse 15. We ended in verse 15. Yes, and we see that Judah and Reuben and Joseph going back and forth. But Joseph is in a position of authority next to the king of Egypt. And that is great authority. But Judah is like Samson in a way. Because the power of the Most High is with him to make him strong. But yet all the sons of Jacob are taught, or whatever, that way that they are made strong in battle. But the fact is that he has a vested interest in his younger brother, in that he said that whatever happens to his younger brother be upon him. Now he's trying to reason with the second in Egypt, which is Joseph, to that this thing that you accuse my younger brother of is not so. But they go back and forth. But either way, in verse 15, the 54th chapter of Jasher, Jasher chapter 54 and verse 15, yes. And God forbid that our brother Benjamin or any of the seed of Abraham should do this thing, to steal from thee, or from anyone else, whether king, prince, or any man. Now therefore cease this accusation, lest the whole earth hear thy words, saying, for a little silver the king of Egypt wrangled with the men, and he accused them, and took their brother for a slave. In other words, they understood how the king of Shechem had used crazy laws to accuse them of things, and the people of Shechem, no, should I say not Shechem, but should I say Sodom and Gomorrah, they had some crazy laws. Let me get that right. Now therefore, he says, now therefore cease this accusation, lest the whole earth hear thy words, saying, for a little silver the king of Egypt wrangled with the men, and he accused them, and took their brother for a slave. And Joseph answered and said unto you, take unto you this cup, and go from me, and leave your brother for a slave, for it is the judgment of a thief to be a slave. And Judah said, why art thou not ashamed of thy words, to leave our brother, and to take thy cup? Surely thou givest us thy cup, or 1,000 times as much, we will not leave our brother for the silver which is found in the hand of any man, that we will not die over him. And Joseph answered and said, why dost thou forsake your brother and sell him for 20 pieces of silver unto this day? And why then will you not do the same to this brother? Now he's saying, hey, you did this to me, but they don't know that's Joseph. Now, what make me think that you're not going to do it to my baby brother? Verse 20. And Judah said, the I am is witness between me and thee, that we desire not to do thy battles. Now, therefore, give us our brother, and we will go from thee without quarreling. Now, his baby brother knew who he was. Joseph and Benjamin, he had introduced himself to Benjamin, even with some signs. And Joseph answered and said, if all the kings of the land should assemble, they will not be able to take your brother from my hand. And Judah said, what shall we say unto our father when he seeth that our brother cometh not with us? Will grieve over him? And Joseph answered and said, this is the thing which you shall tell your father, saying, the rope has gone after the bucket. Here's another clue here that only him and Joseph know. Only Jacob, and just like Abraham and Esau, he said the nail, as a nail in a sure place, means the nail, you have to put the tent peg in a sure place that the tent won't blow over. And he's saying your wife is not holding the family up. She's destroying the family. Now, and Judah said, surely thou art king, and why speakest thou these things, giving a false judgment? Woe unto the king who is like unto thee. And Joseph answered and said, there is no false judgment in the word that I speak on account of your brother Joseph. For all of you sold him to the Midianites for 20 pieces of silver, and you all denied it to your father, and said unto him, an evil beast devoured him. And Joseph has been torn to pieces. And Judah said, behold, the fire of Shem burneth my heart. Now I will burn all your land with fire. And Joseph answered and said, surely thy sister-in-law Tamar, who killed your sons, extinguished the fire of Shechem. And Judah said, if I pluck out a single hair from my flesh, I will fill all Egypt with his blood. Now, this was a rugged dude here. He was a fighter. You can just about think about it. His blood also flowed even unto David through his grandfather. Yes. And what did he say after this? He says, now, I will fill all Egypt with his blood. In 27, and Joseph answered and said, such is your custom, to do as you did to your brother, whom you sold, and you dipped his coat in blood and brought it to your father, in order that he might say, an evil beast devoured him, and here is his blood. And when Judah heard this thing, he was exceedingly wroth, and his anger burned within him. And there was before him in that place a stone, the weight of which of about 400 shekels. And Judah's anger was kindled, and he took the stone in one hand and cast it into the heavens and caught it. So we know when they say heavens in Old English, they mean sky, or up in the atmosphere. Sky, when you say heaven, you're talking about sky, or a place that is not seen when you talk about heavens. Different realm. This is what you're saying. You're talking about translations here. When you're dealing with ancient books, because there are many ancient books in what we call the Bible, and some letters. And this is an ancient book, and it's been translated into a modern English at that time, which really was after the death of the prophet. And so in 28 and 29, and he placed it afterwards under his legs, and he took the stone, and in one hand, I mean, it's still in 28, he cast it to the heavens and caught it with his left hand. This is how strong he was. And he placed it afterward under his legs, and he sat upon it with his strength, and the stone was turned into dust from the force of Judah. And Joseph saw the act of Judah, and he was very much afraid. But he commanded Manasseh, his son. And he said, this is a grandson of your daddy. Now, check this out. Now, he says, now, and his son also did with another stone like unto the act of Judah. And Judah said unto his brother, let not any of you say this man is an Egyptian, but by his doing this thing he is of our father's family. And Joseph said, not to you only strength is given, for we are also powerful men. And why will you boast over us all? And Judah said unto Joseph, send, I pray thee, our brother, and ruin not thy country this day. And Joseph answered and said unto them, go and tell your father, an evil beast have devoured him, and you, as you said concerning your brother Joseph. He said, you did Joseph like this, you did me like this. Do the same thing to him. I'll be with my brother. And Judah spoke to his brother Naphtali, and he said unto him, make haste, go now, all number all the streets of Egypt, and come and tell me. And Simeon said unto him, let not this thing be a trouble to thee. Now I will not go to the mount to take up a large stone, and from the mount and level it at everyone in Egypt, and kill all that are in it. And Joseph heard all these words, and his brethren spoke before him, and they did not know that Joseph understood them, for they imagined that he knew not to speak Hebrew. And Joseph was greatly afraid of the words of his brother, lest they should destroy Egypt. And he commanded his son Manasseh, saying, go now, make haste and gather unto me all the inhabitants of Egypt and all the valiant men together, and let them come to me now upon horseback and on foot, and with all sorts of musical instruments. And Manasseh went and did so. And Naphtali went as Judah had commanded him. For Naphtali was light-footed as one of the swift stags, and he would go upon the ears of the corn, and they would not break under him. And he went and numbered all the streets of Egypt and found them to be 12. And he came hastily and told Judah. And Judah said unto his brethren, hasten. Hastily. And told Judah, and he said unto his brother, hasten. You put on every man his sword upon his loins, and we will come over Egypt and smite all them, and let not a remnant remain. Now we have to understand that these men didn't have the teachings of Jesus. All they knew was the commandments, statutes, and statutes of the Most High and the law. But yet they could get angry and not sin. But he's getting angry because he feels he has a justified means of getting angry. And also he knew he had his confidence in the Most High was at a great height, and that he knew that if he got angry and if he had to fight, that the Most High would be with him and strengthen him, just as Samson. Now, he said, Egypt and all the mighty men came toward them in all sorts of musical instruments and with loud shouting. And their number was 500 cavalry and 10,000 infantry, and all 400 men who could fight without sword or spear, only with their hands and strength. And all the mighty men came with storming and shouting, and they all surrounded the sons of Jacob and terrified them, and the ground quaked and the sound of their shouting. And when the sons of Jacob saw these troops, they were greatly afraid of their lives. And Joseph did so in order to terrify the sons of Jacob to become tranquilized. In other words, put them at risk. Chill, man, chill. And Judah was seeing some of his brethren terrified, and said unto them, why are you afraid, whilst the grace of God is with us? And when Judah saw all the people of Egypt surrounding them, and at the command of Joseph to terrify them, only Joseph commanded them, saying, do not touch any of them. Y'all got great strength, but I got numbers and strength, and I got God. Come on here. And then Judah hastened and drew his sword and uttered a loud and bitter scream, and he smote with the sword, and he sprang upon the ground, and he still continued to shout against all the people. And when he did this thing, the caused the terror of Judah and his brethren to fall upon the valiant men and the people that surrounded them. This was the gift of the Most High to the children of Jacob. And they all fled at the sound of the shouting, and they were terrified and fell upon one another, and many of them died as they fell. And they all fled from before Judah and his brethren and before Joseph. And while as they were fleeing, Judah and his brother pursued them unto the house of Pharaoh, and they all escaped. And Judah again sat before Joseph and roared at him like a lion and gave a great tremendous shriek at him. And the shriek was heard at a distance, and all the inhabitants of Succoth heard it, and all Egypt quaked. Now this was supernatural, something that was given to the sons of Jacob. Egypt quaked at the sound of the shriek, and all the walls of Egypt and the land of Goshen fell in from the shaking of the earth, and Pharaoh also fell from his throne upon the ground. Now you have to remember, this narrative is being told to Moses by an angel or by one of the 24 elders that sat before the throne. These are the angels of presence. But your 66 books somebody will come and say, well, those were old saints and stuff. Yeah, right. Give me a break. But anyway, and also all the pregnant women of Egypt and Goshen miscarried. And when they heard the noise of the shaking, they were terribly afraid. And Pharaoh sent word saying that what is this thing that thou hast this day happened in the land of Egypt? And they came and told him all the things from beginning to the end. And Pharaoh was alarmed, and he wondered and was greatly afraid. And his fright increased, and he heard all these things. And he sent unto Joseph, saying, thou hast brought unto me the Hebrews to destroy all of Egypt. What wilt thou do with all that thievish slave? Send him away, let him go with his brethren, and let us not perish through their evil, even we, you, and all Egypt. And if thou desirest not to do this thing, cast off from thee all my valuable things, and go with them into their land, if thou delightest in it. For they will this day destroy my whole country, and slay all my people. Even, you see, Judah was already, the children of Jacob was more powerful. They didn't have as many men as Egypt, but they were more powerful than Egypt. But this is in the fear of the Most High. He wanted to put fear into Egypt concerning Jacob. Even this thing caused them to fear again. Not from just the time of Abraham, but now God is about to do a thing. He said, and if thou desirest not to do these things, cast off from thee all my valuable things, and go with them into their land, if thou delightest in it. For they will this day destroy my whole country, and slay all my people. Even all the women of Egypt have miscarried through their screams. See what they have done merely by their shouting and speaking. Moreover, they fight with the sword. They will destroy the land. Now therefore choose that which thou desirest, whether me or the Hebrews, whether Egypt or the land of the Hebrews. And they came and told Joseph all the words of Pharaoh that he had said concerning him. And Joseph was greatly afraid at the words of Pharaoh. And Judah and his brethren were still standing before Joseph, indignant and enraged. And all the sons of Jacob roar at Joseph like roaring of a sea and its waves. But it couldn't work against Joseph, because Joseph was one of them. And Joseph was greatly afraid of his brethren on the account of Pharaoh. Or Pharaoh saying, hey, if you're going to continue this, go with them. Just take off my stuff and go. I free you. Now this wasn't in the plan of the Most High, not at all. And Joseph sought a pretext to make himself known unto his brethren, lest they should all destroy Egypt. And Joseph commanded his brother Manasseh, and Manasseh went and approached Judah and placed his hand upon his shoulder, and the anger of Judah was stilled. In other words, there was something that God gave the sons of Joseph that would counter his uncles. And Judah said unto his brother, let no one of you say that this is the act of an Egyptian. Can you imagine even the X-Men, how they got some of their feats Apparently, these writers have been reading through these books. They've been reading through these apocryphas and things that, who's the one that says only you can really take a book that has been translated and read it and understand that what it says is valid or what it says is invalid? Depends on you and how God deals with you. If God's not dealing with you, the whole book is not going to be valid at all. And no one of you say that this is an act of Egyptian youth, for this is the work of my father's house. And Joseph seeing and knowing that Judah's anger was stilled, he approached to speak unto Judah in the language of mildness. And Joseph said unto Judah, surely you speak truth and have this day verified your assertions concerning your strength. And may your God who delighteth in you increase your welfare. But tell me truly, why from amongst all thy brethren dost thou wrangle with me on account of the lad? And none of them have spoken one word to me concerning him. And Judah answered Joseph, saying, surely thou must know that I was security for the lad to his father and his father, saying, if I brought him not unto them, I should bear his blame forever. And therefore I approached thee from amongst all my brethren, for I saw that thou wast unwilling to suffer him and go from thee. Now therefore may I find grace or favor. That's another, should I say, Old English word for favor. In thy sight, that thou shalt send him to go with us. And behold, I will remain as a substitute for him to serve, excuse me, thee in whatever thou desirest, for whatsoever thou shalt send me, I will go to serve with thee. Send me now to a mighty king who has rebelled against thee, and thou shalt know what I will do unto him and unto his land, although he may have cavalry and infantry or an exceeding mighty people. I will slay them all and bring the king's head before thee. Dost thou not know, or hast thou not heard, that our father Abraham with his servant Eliezer smote all the kings of Elam and with their host in one night, and they left not one remaining ever since that day? Our father's strength was given unto us for an inheritance, for us and our seed forever. Yes, we're going to end there, and we're going to begin at verse 61 on the morrow. Yes. And one thing I can say is that, could this be, ask yourself a question, could this be one of the attributes of those who are of the children of Jacob? We're talking men. See, woman, you counseled out. Although you helped the children of Jacob, there should be an attribute. Why has this attribute has ceased, should I say? Why has this attribute ceased among the children of Judah or Jacob? Could it be when the children of Jacob began to say all that the Lord, even the Most High, said that will we do in Exodus chapter 19 and 20? There's something that there. Now, this here, they kept the law. They kept the law up until the time of going into Egypt. Now, when you walk out of the shadow of the Almighty, when you walk from under his walk from under his loins, or under his protection, just as the woman would walk from under the protection of her husband through adultery and through, should I say, rebellion, or her father through adultery or rebellion. Surely she's vulnerable to anything. But many of you go, yeah, but the fact is you walked out of your protection. This is a world of men. There are some women that are exceptional. They can defend for themselves, but they can't defend against every man, because there's always someone, a man stronger than you. I mean, many men stronger than you. Whether you're a boxer or a martial artist or whatever, there are men that are more skilled and stronger and will put you down. You cannot win, woman. But the fact is, you rebel, you go, and men have made laws to make you walk from under your protection of that man. And this is why men should always keep himself as physically fit as possible. See, now you have the enemy. He makes you docile. He makes you fall under the woman. And this is why the Bible comes from and says, women lead you. You've left your state, not only in your strength, but in your wisdom, the love that you have to give for a woman to respect him for who he is, a man, period, and a man that you have to do with. See, some of you you've been taught by your mothers and fathers, and even the Satans have swayed your minds, and you don't even know it. To rebel, just as Eve did, and the man has become weak, just as Adam. No, we all are susceptible to it, but the fact is God is showing you where your fault lies. You have walked out from under the shadow of the Almighty, even your husband, and man, your God. And by this, both of you will be delivered. But the fact is that you cannot be delivered in the way that you're walking now. Forget all those who speak nay. They speak according to as they hear from the evil spirits, or the spirits that are designed to draw men away from God. Now, God does this to allow people to be tested, whether they would be of God or not. Now, he that abideth under the shadow of the it's Psalms 91. I believe that's what it is. Psalms 91. Read that scripture. And abide forever under the shadow of the Almighty. Woman, being submissive unto your husband, even as all the women of old have done. Some, some of them were in polygyny. There's no such thing as polygamy. That's a heathen word. Polygamy and all that other stuff is heathen words, but polygyny was that of those that would be of the Old Testament, even of the law. Polygyny, a man with his wives. Not man and man, or man and woman and two men and all, whatever you have or no. Wives in marriage, that's what it was. Polygyny. I don't say that lightly, because the fact is that it's just a label given by the Europeans to mean that a man with a few wives, that's all it is. Now, some don't understand it. They call it polygamy. That's a broad statement. But the fact is, if you choose one wife and wife choose one husband, so be it. That's good. And the same thing with the other, vice versa. If you choose two wives and the wives are accepting of a husband, now that is good even more, because you form a community. You form a bond. You form something that can never be diminished, because the fact is some of you read the story about Samuel, how that she was even ridiculed because she couldn't bear children for her husband, who was a very devout man, a Hebrew Israelite indeed. But yet she couldn't bear children, but God had a plan for her. Maybe God closed your womb for a reason. Or maybe he has something he wants you to do. And but the man, he ruled with wisdom. He gave her double portions. He made sure she knew that she was loved. He spent time with her. And she birthed one of the well-known prophets, even Samuel, and gave him back according to her promise to the Most High. And her husband, he was well with it, because God had spoken to him also. Stay under the shadow of the Almighty. And man, stay under the shadow of the Almighty. Woman, stay under the shadow of your husband. See, the church, the Christianity have changed this thing, talking about the middleman. God saying, hey, from me is the man, and from the man is the woman. But now here you got Christianity saying, from me is, what I say, man is the Christ, and then the woman, and then what have you, the children. That don't make no sense. God said no man, he doesn't share his glory with no man, neither there is none beside him. So the story of Stephen is invalid. Invalid all the way. Because there's none that standeth beside the Most High. You can't even see where an angel stood beside the Most High, even throughout the Bible. So in order to be protected, you have to be under a male or man in holy matrimony, or your father, even your brothers, or a man of authority that you have. Look at Ruth. Ruth, a Moabitess. Now, she was more of an Israelite than any other woman, because she abided by the rules and she abided by the law of her deceased husband. And one thing about Boaz, you can understand, Boaz was an older man. I don't know how older he was than she was, but he had to be around the age of what could be considered her father. But he noticed that one thing about it, she did not show her attention. She did not want any attention from the younger man. This is how you tell, if you're an older man and you're dealing with a woman or younger women, you can tell by how, watch her in the open with younger people, with younger men, and how she would act. Is she interested in those men, or is she interested in you? Especially if you're an older man that is wealthy or have a great considerable amount of wealth. Consider her and her ways, how she acts among those of her own peers. In that, you can make a real sound decision, just as Boaz did with Ruth. And with that, we're going to say peace.
Walk with me.